But some of those good ones still love the thrill of the chase.
Right.
You know, just everybody, just because you didn't kill a man in broad daylight on camera doesn't make you a good one.
Right.
Because guess what? Your situation could have been as simple as taking somebody in and judging them when they shouldn't have been. You
Right.
saw a person walking down the street and you assumed that they were doing something wrong. You did something
Mm-hmm.
wrong. You did something bad at that point. It's as simple as that. And it's
Yeah.
like, people got to understand, just because that person lives in your home and loves you does not mean that they're not going out there and doing some horrible shit.
Right.
They can come home and they can tell you all the stories of everybody that they saved. Yes, and they might have pulled a lady from the car. But guess what? The week before that, they pulled over a car because it had tinted windows, but they also saw that there was a black person in there, and they assumed that they said that there was drugs going on in this area, so they assumed maybe this person has drugs on them. Those are all real things that happen. But the assumption based off of who you see in the car and the vehicle that they're riding in, that is prejudice. That's not okay. Yeah. So you said they had a candlelight joint going on.
Yeah, they had a few of them on Sunday.
Okay.
So, and when I had found out, it was like midday, and they had one right by the house.
Got you.
Uh, so I was like, all right, but it wasn't long, so that wasn't bad either. You know.
I tried to go out. I went to Wingstop the other day. I didn't even know there was a protest here in Brockton.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I seen a lot of people like walking down the street and they had signs. It was like a lot of young people. And
Yeah.
then I went to Wingstop and we were talking about it with the Wingstop dudes. And I was gonna go out. I was like, you know what? Maybe I should go out and just like capture the moment. My wife flipped out. She was like, "You got kids at home. You going out into the protest. I'm gonna call your mother." Dog,
Yo,
she
that's
called my. I was like, "You ain't gonna call my mother in
wow.
a second. You going out to the what?" Now, granted, we had the conversation after because obviously we've been watching it. Now, granted, this one was going to be late, and the later it gets, the
Yeah.
crazier it gets. If it gets crazy,
Oh, that's crazy
and then
though.
I end up watching it on TV later, and
Uh-huh.
there was a bunch of tear gas and rubber bullets, and apparently they said that they burnt down Dunkin' Donuts. I didn't see the burnt down Dunkin' Donuts, but it was funny
Yo.
because where I went to the Wingstop, they were boarding up
Uh-huh.
CVS. CVS was boarding up, and I
Oh, wow.
originally tried to go to the grocery store first, and they're like, "Sir, we're closed," and I'm like, "What time?" It was 4 o'clock. They were boarding up already, and I didn't even connect the connection. I was like, because you know how they had already stopped like certain entrances anyway because of coronavirus,
Right.
so they only had one entrance. And I'm like, they taking this one entrance thing real serious. And then I realized I'm like, yo, they boarding up because they think people gonna loot and riot over there.
Yep.
But
Yeah, that's crazy.
crazy, crazy, crazy. It was like
Yeah.
yeah, there was a whole situation over here in Brockton. It wasn't that crazy. I mean, it could have been crazier, but yeah, that's where we are, dog. But I'm gonna go out one time. I'm definitely gonna go out. I really want to document. It'd be cool if we
Yeah.
went out and we
Yeah.
documented
I'm
one of
def
these
I'm
situations.
I'm definitely down for that
Yeah.
because someone had asked me if we was gonna go out, and I was like, man, I didn't even think about that like that, because I mean, I guess the problem with protests is always the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's not consistent. It's not
Mm.
long enough. Knowing that we are like on day 14 right now, something
It's
like that.
pretty long right now.
Right. It's just like, and so now I was watching Trevor Noah last night, and he was just talking about like, you know, the things that the protesting has done because it's been so long,
Yes.
and I mean, obviously we're going to get into the whole defund the police thing and stuff.
Yes.
So it just shows that like, okay, maybe they're not going to go back inside right
I
now.
don't think so.
But the other thing that I had said last week was it was the perfect storm because people aren't home from. I mean, everyone's home from work.
Where they gonna
It's
go?
not like they're obligated. I gotta, and I'm gonna wake up the next day and I'm gonna be back.
Yes.
So it's like, oh, look, the country's opening up, y'all. We can't be out here protesting.
That's right.
Nah, you know. So,
It's crazy because They not. I thought that it would. If anything, the telltale sign was like, okay, the charging of the other 3 cops. People thought it was going to stop. I think that's where everybody's missing. They're like, why are all these other states involved? Because they all had police brutality. It's not just about George Floyd. That was like the straw that broke the camel's back. Like, nah, come on, no more, no more, no more. And I mean,
see, this I feel like the thing is that people are just like, oh, all right, like, what, this happens every couple of months. No, it's recorded every couple of months. It happens every day though. Like it happens all the time.
Yeah. And it's happening to some of those people who are out there. It's happening to them. Yeah. Like people act like those people out there are only out there for George Floyd. No, some of them have their own personal experience.
Exactly.
They have personal horrible experiences, and then while they're out there, even if they didn't, then they have a new horrible experience with police with their brutality during these demonstrations. Like, I mean, if any time you want to be on your best behavior is now, and they can't keep it together, dog.
And it's like, and the moment in which I was like, oh, it's gonna start dying down now. Then it was just like worldwide protests. I was like, it's getting okay,
worldwide.
Okay. And it's like now that everybody in the world is protesting. Now it's not like people could just go inside now. Like it's like, no. I did my job, and it's like, no. Now you are just as accountable.
You keep going. Legislation. Let's get the legislation going. All right, so let's start the podcast. I'm No Justin, No Peace.
And I'm Lou Rivers.
And we are the Loose Cannons Podcast because we sit down and we fire off our opinions on today's pop culture.
What else?
Politics.
What else?
Movies and TV and how they all intersect. And oh, baby, do we have an interesting episode for you guys. This is episode 55.
Yo, 55. We here now.
We hitting milestones. This is great. Yo, we got a lot of stuff that's going on in society. We're just going to have to unpack it. I mean, we talked a lot about it last week, but we got to continue. We got some movie reviews for you guys this week also. But let's start with something like in the podcast world, this is where we want to be. Joe Rogan got that bag. That Spotify bag, dog.
Yes. What's the deal for? Do we have it?
The projections are no lower than 100 million. I believe it's for like 3 years, and it's a licensing deal. That's what they're saying. So it's not even like they own the content. So they get all of his catalog. They get the whole catalog. Exclusive in, I don't know if it starts in 2021 or later this year, so it's not going to be on any other platform.
September 2020.
There it is.
September, if I'm correct. Yeah.
And also the video, so they're opening up video content on Spotify, which is great for people like ourselves. Like, if it works for Joe Rogan, hopefully they'll start opening up for everybody to put video on that platform, and then we'll be pushing a lot of people over to Spotify. Because it'd be great to have a platform where you could do video and audio. And Apple used to do that at one point. You remember, like, I used to watch the TED videos on Apple, but they stopped that. So Spotify's making some moves.
I was going to say, I think Spotify had the resources also to do it, because if you click on certain songs, they got the video playing in the background. So so they've had it. It's just, I don't think that they knew how to utilize it.
Gotcha.
And having a podcast that records just gives them the basis to actually make it a full platform.
Yep.
So I mean, I can see how it's definitely a game changer for Spotify.
Super.
Because Spotify, when you think about Spotify, all you think about is music and listening to it. So if they can actually broaden it to be visual also, I mean, that makes it the real challenge for YouTube,
Huge challenge for YouTube.
Yeah.
Huge challenge. I mean,
you take your number one content provider and just go with it,
To be honest, I was going to talk to you about this later, but I had tried to boost some of our posts, the recent one, and Facebook rejected it. I'm not really sure why they rejected it. I'm assuming they rejected it just based off of what the title was in the content, because one of the titles had the lynching of George Floyd. But the videos are already out there of what happened to George Floyd. And then YouTube rejected it. So it's like, some of these policies and some of these, they're kind of shaky because you could find all these same videos on there, and we're not putting the video out. We're only
Right.
putting out, our feelings about it out. So some of these policies are really preventing people from doing what it is they want to do. Now, granted, you're able to post the content, but they're not allowing you to boost it or give it any attraction. So that means even on the back end, I don't know if some of those videos are being held back because of the particular type of
You don't know if what?
if the video is being held back in general, because you know how they have their algorithm of presenting it to a certain amount of people. So a lot of people are just tired of that. They want to just be able to create whatever the content it is they want. And if Spotify is going to allow people to do that, it might end up being the place.
Yeah, that's what Joe had said in his podcast this past week. He said that the main reason he left was because he didn't want to be shackled down the whole. He can't put out what he wants to put out. So, I mean, we'll see for Spotify, but I mean, I like the idea.
Yeah.
Completely.
I mean,
go ahead.
To be honest, I mean, they're really a great player. The only reason why I use Apple Music is one, because I'm in the ecosystem, so I got everything Apple right now. But Spotify, I'd probably be over at Spotify right now using their music player on everything.
Throw that out there, but I'm just saying,
What?
Spotify premium member.
How you like Spotify more?
Yeah. They did. I see now that I said it, I realized that it was a year because at the end of the fall they started giving out since premium trial offers. Kind of how I got had the 6 month thing. This isn't bad. Sticking with them, and I mean, I think I only just paid for my first month, so and I don't regret it at all.
No? Okay. I might go back and try them. People feel like they have to say a lot of things. Now, granted, we're in the content game, and people are going to their social media, their personal social media, and they're just putting foot in mouth
all day.
Drew Brees happened to put pigskin in mouth. Okay.
Woo, boy. Woo.
Granted, he was on an interview, but if you don't know how to, if who's his media person who didn't prepare him for potentially getting a question that has to do with this? Because everything was going down at this time. The NFL statement, I believe, happened before this. You knew that the Colin Kaepernick question was going to potentially pop up, and this was the answer that you chose. In this time, come on,
I
Drew.
think that, all right, so this is the whole thing. A lot of people don't have their PR person because of the pandemic. It was an interview with Yahoo Finance, so I have absolutely no clue what was the reason this interview was happening. Through the series of questions, it's so tough because I felt like I understood what was trying to go with it, but for the fact that you are still associating the protest with the flag and military, like,
it's your ignorance at this point. It's just
right,
completely
exactly.
your ignorance, because like all the information is out there. How many times is the person how many times are we going to tell the story of why he ended up kneeling, why he decided to kneel, what he was doing initially? Like every time that he has to keep saying it, it's just your ignorance, and you just want to hold on to it because it's always the buttisms. Like, I'm fine with it, but like, no. Right. Once you throw the butt out there, that means you're not fine with it. You just feel like you need to say that you're fine with it. And he got caught up. And this is the worst time for him to get caught up. Like, like people who would have normally defended were like, time to stop, time to chill. Like, if any time this protest that Kaepernick did was the most relevant, it's like super right now. Like, I mean, now. It's too clear.
All right. So now this is the whole thing. Being objective, right? Now I'm gonna preach some objectivity, right?
Uh-huh.
I guess in Drew's statement, what he was talking about was what he feels basically when he hears the national anthem.
Yeah.
But he has also taken the stance of he will never support anybody who disrespects the flag. But for the fact that he has knelt means that maybe he doesn't see it the same way. But his words in context, for the fact that his statement was broadly based on was totally associated it as a rebuttal for the conversation, knowing that he has knelt and he has been on that side, you know?
He has. Interesting.
So I just think that, you know, I'm not going to say that he misspoke because I think that we all, after reading, we all know what he said. It's just that he took the wrong opportunity to a personal reflection of that, knowing the context of the situation.
Yes.
You know?
He made, I think that's the biggest mistake he made about himself and his family.
Right.
Which there are tons of families who have done a similar sacrifice. And you just got to know your time. Just like no time. And this wasn't the time for that conversation. The flag doesn't need you to stand up for it right now. It really doesn't need you to stand up for it right now. It is just fine. No one's getting rid of the American flag. No one's getting rid of the national anthem. No one.
Right.
But guess what? People are dying in the streets at the hand of police officers. And that was the time for him to say what he needed to say. But the silliest thing that he did was the picture that he posted up of the white hand and the black hand together. I was like, come on, Drew. Stop it. Stop it.
Yeah.
You went on Google Images. Getty Images. What was the search he typed in?
Yeah.
Like
black and white unity.
Black and white unity.
Yes. Yes.
My goodness, Drew. Come on. Stop it.
It was either that or he put Rocky 3, Rocky Balboa, Apollo Creed.
That's what it had to be. That would have been the picture. That would have been a better picture. Rocky and Apollo. I would have been like, oh, you know, well. But just a random white and black hand.
Man. Go ahead, Drew. I mean, the backlash was well deserved. Yeah. And I say this all the time, like, people are always taken aback from it, but I think that we always need these cases to reiterate.
Yes,
to really show.
And educate others.
Right. It is always the points of education in which we can show others. Yep. And then someone else who had that same premise could go, I understand.
Now I get it. Yep.
And that's the whole thing. And I mean, you know me, I'm canceling someone. And especially when someone is in a position that can, like, it's like, all right, let's say we cancel him. Then that means that someone else who's going to make that mistake isn't going to want to be accountable because they're going to be afraid of being canceled.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I'm
glad that this conversation has happened. And what the most interesting thing is that the NFL seems to be changing their stance on the kneeling and everything that happened in the prior season. Seem to be. And you know, it's interesting because there are a lot of companies that I'm getting emails constantly. Target, all kinds of emails saying Black Lives Matter, this, that, and the third. I don't know if people are taking this opportunity because they feel the pressure, but I don't know if it matters either. Because if they're feeling the pressure to do so, that means that there's something working. There's something working. To be honest, it doesn't matter if you change legislation because you're genuine, or if you start to make different moves because of your genuine feelings, or just because you feel financial pressure. Either or I'll take, as long as people are not targeted in stores, as long as people don't have the freedom to express themselves, even if they wear the NFL uniform, or as long as legislation changes what's happening in our society. It doesn't matter if people are genuine about it. I just want it done. And that Roger Goodell was saying, you know, we were wrong. We were wrong about this situation. What do you think is so different this time? Because, I mean, they've all looked bad to me.
All right, I'll tell you exactly what it is. It is the crossroads of business. Everyone's got money in their pocket now.
Everyone.
So it's like, you can't just alienate a group of people, especially if you need as many people buying your product as possible.
Yeah.
You can't take those stances with, all right, well, at least we still got these buyers. Ain't nobody had no buyers in the last couple months.
You're right.
So everyone's thinking to themselves like, yo, we need as much of good publicity as possible because and then we stuck, you know?
And they need a good Black Friday,
Right.
which is not far from now. Like, so numbers are numbers, and what people need to understand, especially in the retail business, you know, a lot of them don't make as much money throughout the year. Credit cards do very well for them, and then Black Friday literally changes the whole world. There's small margins in a lot of these businesses, so they need high volume.
Right.
And if they don't get the high volume, they're not looking good, especially for that year. And then their share price goes down. And money is the key, dude. Money is the key. Money is the key. The only issue is that even if we decide as a community, whatever that community is, to hold back our money, there's certain places you can't hold back money because there are industries that are still controlled and owned that are the essential items. You know, you can't stop from spending on the essential items. But guess what? Target takes this stance and Walmart doesn't. My money's going to Target.
Right.
That's it. As simple as that.
And I think that one of the biggest reasons why the NFL took this stance is because if the country's going to open up and we about to start training camp, if we don't have support, we ain't going to have nobody come watch us. Especially you got every other sport trying to start up at the same time.
Yep.
So I mean, I don't see how that works for them otherwise, you know?
It doesn't. But this is good. I like the scramble. I like everybody scrambling. I like I even like the mayors that are coming out and saying the racist stuff. Show yourself. Show yourself. So we know who to vote out. Vote them out. You ready? Come on, show yourself. Say the most racist thing. Let's go. Let's get them out. But while people getting things out, this is something that I learned the other day. Apparently, there's no low jack on tanks because 2 tanks in Atlanta were stolen, and people was ghost riding the whip.
Yo,
around the
riding the whip. You know,
they stole tanks. First of all, the first problem is there was tanks to be stolen.
Right.
There was tanks to be stolen in the first place. Second thing, who was supposed to be watching the tanks?
Right.
Who?
I'm gonna tell you right now, it was just, I'm getting the call like, yo, you coming down to the protest? Yo, I got something for y'all. Don't worry, I'll be there.
Y'all, dog. I got something for y'all. Try to tear gas us now.
Yeah.
Now, granted, they stole the tanks, but it didn't seem to do any serious damage. So it was like, it was just a joyride in the tank. Listen, I don't have to condone it.
Right.
But I can laugh at it. Because that's just some crazy stuff. It's
the tank's not easy to drive. Like, I'm
wondering.
How
did they figure it out?
Ain't no steering wheel in there.
There's no steering. It's not regular.
Yo, I don't know.
How did they figure it out?
Man,
wait, there was 2 tanks stolen, so there's 2 people that figured it out.
One dude went to the other dude. All right, this is what you do. You just hand this hand. Yo, 2 pedals, you be good money. Okay.
Maybe he FaceTimed one of his brothers or his friends that is in the armed forces and was like, yo, how I start this joint?
Yeah, I was gonna say, everything's on YouTube, dog.
You're right. Everything is on YouTube.
Yo, video games and YouTube. I'm talking about. You can probably put anybody in there right now. I'll figure it out.
Damn. Ghost riding the tanks. That's just some interesting stuff. But as we get a little more serious, because everything was happening, and from last week is a little bit different. I feel like the heaviness changed when our last episode came out. Only one officer was arrested at that time. Now, in the George Floyd case, all 4 officers have been arrested and charged, and they moved the initial officer's charge up to second-degree murder.
Right.
I'm not really sure what the charges of all the other 3 officers were, and we're getting more details. And I believe 2 of the other 3, or all the other 3, were rookie officers.
Oh wow.
And so my wife and I were having a conversation. She was saying that she feels bad for some of them because it's possible that they got caught up in the following of instructions.
Always.
And that's definitely strongly possible.
Mm-hmm.
There's a movie that I watch that I would suggest everybody goes and watch on Netflix. It's called Compliance. And it takes you on this journey. The guy's premise is that he's trying to convince somebody to push another person off a roof. And how do you get them to do that? And he initially started with finding the people who would be compliant by having individuals. They came in for the interview and they had actors stand up and sit down every time a bell rang. So they would send one person in, and they would see who would start following those actors as they would stand up and sit down. And then they started to remove the actors and see who would continue it. And then the people who were continuing it and then getting the other people to do it were all people that they were bringing in to interview. So a lot of us have a propensity to comply, especially situationally. If a person is a boss, or if a person is a police officer, no matter what the situation is, we just feel like we need to comply, even if it's something we shouldn't be doing. And we know in our hearts of hearts, because we have a fear of maybe losing a job, maybe losing a position, all these different things. And that's one of the dangerous things in our society, is that our propensity to comply, even though we know something is wrong, and we don't have a structure that really holds up and takes care of those people who are the whistleblowers. Mm-hmm. That's why we don't have a lot of cops stepping up and standing out, because they won't be able to move up in the police department.
Right.
They potentially will not be able to get overtime, which is really how a lot of police officers make a lot of their money. So they get stifled. So they start to say nothing. And that is the way, that is the structure that's being perpetuated. And it happens in all forms of society, no matter what job that you're at. This idea of compliance and just listening no matter what is creating the danger.
Right. Because if you're complying, then you move up, then that means that you get more power.
You get more power.
So the more people who comply, the more power is in the hands of the people who want to make the decisions.
That's right.
And the people who would be able to fight against it are stuck at the bottom with no power.
That's it.
That's just how it happens.
It's the dangerous structure. Now you can flip that on its head, because one of the things that we don't in any of our societies really uphold are the people who are who do the opposite of things. People who push boundaries. Like, I think we need to learn that it's okay for those people to exist. Now, in the arts, we hold that up. You know, hip hop is about pushing boundaries and about seeing things another way and about telling stories in a different way. You know, in the arts, we allow those things. We have the Tarantinos. We have all these extreme things that we get to see and experience and explore. But we don't have that in certain structures. Like, even when you hear about like people become congressmen and congresswomen, and how they end up just in the structure. Like, they come in so radical, ready to make change, but the structure doesn't allow for radical change. It's like, nope, just relax. You know, you're new here. Right. You know, you're not senior yet. Don't try to change too much.
Your bills pass, you've got to agree and hop on mines, even if it goes against your ethics and morals.
That's right. That's right. You need me if you want to get something done. So it's all these systems that create this cover for people who are trying to do the horribleness, because you have to go along to get along, and then hopefully try and make something happen, and it doesn't happen. So with that update with George Floyd, all the 4 officers in charge, but that did not stop any of the protests. If anything, it just increased. It just kept going. And the new buzzword is defunding the police.
Right.
Now that is a hot topic. A lot of people, and I think it's purposefully, people are like, so what are you just going to get rid of police? So like, what are you going to do when you need help? Like, no, that's not what that means.
Right. Exactly.
And the icing on the cake, we are from New York City.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the numbers, the budget for the NYPD a year?
How much was it?
$6 billion, dog. $6 billion, dog.
Uh-huh.
And when people are talking about defunding police, they're talking about that $6 billion could be allocated different.
Right. Easily. You mean to tell me we can't run the structure off of $3 billion? Right.
Or $2 billion? Okay, yeah. let's say expensive, $4 billion.
Because they don't want police, they want a militia.
They want a militia. All the equipment, new vehicles, all of these things are insidious because there's other companies involved. Where do these vehicles come from? Who do they buy them from? Who do they buy this equipment from?
A mini government type structure where they have contracts themselves in which they have to either buy vehicles, buy materials, and the whole thing is that no longer has to be approved once the budget is sent in. Like that's the point. At that point, now you go and make money in a private platform by having to pay for these contracts to private industry.
Yes.
Now that's basically what the government does. Instead of the government saving the money and being able to do it themselves, they rather contract the jobs off for higher money because they think that in the long run they're saving. But basically all you're doing is having to ask for more money to pay for the same operation. That's it.
Now, my question out of that is I want to know how much of that $6 billion actually goes to personnel.
Right. I couldn't even think about.
Because imagine if it was $3 billion in personnel or $2 billion in personnel. Where is the rest of this going? Or $5 billion in personnel. We're spending $1 billion on equipment.
Right.
What are we buying?
And the whole thing is it's not even like what are we buying? It's what are we doing yearly that we have to continue to use that yearly?
Yearly, dog.
It's like that $1 billion. They do another. Wait, what?
Now people are looking
into. It'd be different if this money was used as much in the training of interacting with the public.
Oh my!
Like this is the difficulty in it.
The difficulty.
Like, I don't know, man. I mean, I feel like there's so many different ways to find a solution, and we're not using any of them.
Nope.
No.
Not a one, because I mean, when now people are unlocking other cities. Now, granted, this is a huge city, but some other cities, they're looking at the budgets, and some of the budgets are 40-50% for the police department.
Right.
And it's like, man, if 40-50% is going to the police department, the other 50% is not going to the schools.
Right.
So you got to split that other 50 between infrastructure, schools, and every other program the city has.
Think about every civil service job, not police.
Not police. Public transportation.
Yep. It's crazy. I think that people don't quite understand. This is the one reason why, having on our taxes, we don't have itemized anything.
We need it itemized.
I would love to know where my taxes are going, because if I'm paying this much money for this service and I'm not getting nowhere near that service, I want to opt out.
At least a pie chart, or percentage.
Right.
At least a pie chart. Because this is information that I'm pretty sure we all could have found out, but now that people are looking into it, it's looking crazy. $6 billion. $6 billion. That is a lot of money.
Yep.
Now, could we have changed? Could we have better used that money? Now, if it's about decreasing crime, if that's the case, could we have used 4 billion of that to increase education and after school programs and all these different things that we know have an effect and keep the cops safer? Because you won't even get to see the person committing the crime, because now they have something else to look forward to. Now they have something in between that 3 o'clock and that 7 o'clock hours that we know that a lot of the gang situations happen, in the initiations and in the in the idle minds of youth happen. Could we have done some more after school programs for $4 billion? If we're talking about keeping the police safer, we want them to be safe prior to having to pull in their weapon.
Right.
Isn't that what we
what's
want?
one of my biggest things? My biggest things is, I need the police to police their neighborhood. I don't need someone who is driving 2 hours to get into the city to come police my neighborhood at all. Because that's not my community.
Yes.
He does not resemble anything in my community, does not take anything from my community.
Right.
I think that we need that idea of, if we're going to have beat cops at the lowest of levels, like when you're first hired, I would like for that cop to come from the same neighborhood that he's going to actually go and be part of.
Yes.
Or
if they take it serious and say, well, there is something you need to learn about this area, because every community has their, even within our English language, has their own language. If you go to the urban area in Baltimore, they sound different from the urban area in New Orleans, sound different from the urban area in New York City. There is a lingo, there is a language that is being spoken. And you need to know that language. And when you don't know that language, you don't understand that tone, you may take things wrong.
Right.
You may take things wrong.
Police need to know the law. Like, you can't police and not know the law.
Dog.
One of the biggest things is, if we have police that are going to be out there, I mean, we've said the whole CCTV thing. Like, I think that this is where we actually need lawyers to actually be able to train the police in a way that as much of the basic laws they know as possible, so that you're not doing anything unlawful because you've only had, I think it's somewhere along the lines of 20 hours of training with law and interacting with people, as opposed to somewhere along the lines of 50 hours with physical and everything that has nothing to do with the community. So maybe that's just my thing, but
I'm even down for increasing their salaries, but requiring more. Require more. First of all, we need to limit what they do. I think all drug crimes need to go away. All use of drug crimes. We have the DEA already. So you're not going after El Chapo. Okay? So we have the DEA already, but all use of drugs, all those things need to go away. So that's already like 60-70% of what they do. So we already don't need that amount. So therefore, the rest that we do need are required to have more knowledge. To become an FBI agent, you have to go to school. You literally have to go to school. Why don't we require more of that from our officers? More of our officers should be educated. They should be educated on the law, that whether it's associates in criminal justice or a specific type of course for becoming a police officer, it should be a couple of years. 1 or 2 years of learning how to operate, learning how to deal with people, learning conflict resolution skills, learning how to walk away. Just because you can arrest somebody doesn't mean you should.
Right. You remember when I think we was talking about, I think it was part of the CCTV thing, but if you're wearing a body cam, now this is, I guess, when it gets to like the sports idea atmosphere of it, there should someone always be active on a certain patrols, so that now you got that sort of idea, the third referee who's looking at it from the box, who can,
Yes.
oh, okay, look, relax because this, that, and the other, whatever the case is. I'm sending extra units, whatever.
Yep.
But there's someone on the outside who has to be objective watching this. You know,
Absolutely. I mean, we're spending $6 billion, but the radio system still seems to be archaic.
hmm
Like, why are they still using this? Why are they still
right,
doing that?
right,
I'm fine. Let's buy everybody earpieces. Let's
right.
go. Earpieces.
Exactly.
And then the person, yes, monitoring these group of people and their body. Oh, okay. Yes,
hmm
no. We're going to leave this one alone.
Right. I don't know if we had this conversation earlier, but was talking about police chases.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we not just tagging cars? You can go anywhere. You can go as fast as you want. Your car is tagged. What are you going to do at this point?
What are you going to do?
No, that's not what we do.
There are solutions. If you want things to be safer, there are solutions for it. But guess what? There's some people that get off on the thrill of the chase.
hmm
You got to remember, and there's a lot of people like, so good ones. But some of those good ones still love the thrill of the chase.
Right.
Just everybody, just because you didn't kill a man in broad daylight on camera doesn't make you a good one.
Right.
Because guess what? Your situation could have been as simple as taking somebody in and judging them when they shouldn't have been. You
Right.
saw a person walking down the street and you assumed that they were doing something wrong. You did something wrong. You did something bad at that point. It's as simple as that. And it's like, people got to understand, just because that person lives in your home and loves you does not mean that they're not going out there and doing some horrible shit.
Right.
They can come home and they can tell you all the stories of everybody that they save. Yes, and they might have pulled a lady from the car. But guess what? The week before that, they pulled over a car because it had tinted windows, but they also saw that there was a black person in there, and they assumed that they said that there was drugs going on in this area, so they assumed maybe this person has drugs on them. Those are all real things that happen. But the assumption based off of who you see in the car and the vehicle that they're riding in, that is prejudice. That's not okay. That's not okay at all. At all. And even when we have these people who are pulling people over and then pretending to smell marijuana in the car,
Right.
because they see who's in the car.
Yeah.
We can people use statistics all the time, but they look at it all wrong. If we know, and this has nothing to do with prejudice, we know that black people and white people use drugs at the same rate. At the same rate. Not because there's something wrong with black people or something wrong with white people, but people be using drugs. That's it. But how are there more black people being arrested, in charge for drug crimes? Because they are targeting certain communities. They are not going after the other communities.
Right.
If they were busting down doors in other communities, they will find all kinds of drugs. Why? Because of the color of their skin? No, because people be using drugs.
Right.
Simple as that. But people in the police departments target certain communities, and that's why we're at the place of people saying defund the police. Defund, because the more you defund, the less they would do. Listen, I thought that this would be a huge Republican thing, because aren't we always saying small government? Republicans are always like small government, less intrusion. This is part of it.
Yeah.
Limit what they can do. It's simple as that. And then they can focus. I think we all can agree. Go after the murderers. Go after the rapists. Let's go.
Yeah.
Kidnappings. Let's go. Anybody had a problem with Amber Alerts? You ever heard anybody say they have a problem with the Amber Alert?
Right.
No. A child is missing. We down. Let's go.
Especially with the success rates of how they can. We need the resources. We need more people being caught out there.
That's it. But the focus is not there.
Right.
The focus is on these drug crimes. The focus is on these petty things. And all that does is pad the pockets of the people who own these prisons, the people
Right.
who are invested in these prisons. And even if they're federal prisons, there's still tons of money because there are tons of contracts going through those federal prisons. Tons of it. People who are supplying the food, people who are doing the phone service, all of these different things. Yes, they got to be defunded. And for me, that means spending the funds smarter. If we want a safer society, we're understanding that having more police is not making it better. Almost a million of them. It's not doing the job it's supposed to do. Maybe we need to put the money somewhere else.
Right.
Now, as this is going on and people are saying defund the police, that was put in front of the mayor of Minneapolis during a protest. He was down there, he had on his mask, and he was looking young, walking with the people, and they were like, nah, we need you. Since you were here, there was a young lady, she said, are you willing to commit to defunding the police? And he could not answer. He
nodded a quick no. He didn't do it. He didn't want those.
No, I'm not gonna defund the police. And man, did that erupt. They I didn't even know. Get out of here, Jacob. Shame. Yeah. Wait, they parted like the Red Sea, and so that he could make his way out. First of all, it's hilarious, but it's also showing the power of the people. No, because she also said, and remember, you have an election coming up next year.
Yep.
And you know what will happen if you do not agree with the people.
Right.
Because who are you agreeing with, Jacob? Like, that's the thing. If the people are saying that this is a potentiality, you know,
right.
and I even believe it's the what is the local, I forgot what the city council is even saying we should potentially do something like this. But you're taking the stance of not doing it. Why? What information do you have? How do you look at it any differently?
Well, he was very he was not wasn't quite the politician there, you know,
at all.
You know, because I mean, as a politician, you have to know that you don't say yes and you don't say no.
You don't say no.
You have to give the people what they want, or give them an option to get what they want.
At least say we'll look into it.
Right. Not even we'll look into it. Let's bring all parties to the same table, and we can figure out what the demands are. And if they can't be met, then we will come with a solution on that side. Boom.
Yes.
Peace. You know, like
that's it.
For me, like I would have been like, all right, maybe we could do something like that. But no, if you're a good protester, obviously you're not going to accept that answer. You're going to try to get as much of a cement answer as possible. But something like that could have been spun in your favor. And he didn't take the opportunity. He was just like, no.
Shame. Shame.
He was just like, get the hell out of here. And I was like, ooh, okay.
They parted like they said, go. This ain't for you then. Bounce. Yeah. Bounce. This is the power of the people taking back their city, because you know there is a group consciousness now that is saying something's not right.
Right.
Now, a lot of people, and this is the reason why we have this topic of defunding the police, because people are now trying to say that they mean get rid of police in total. Like, nobody's saying that people don't need a person to come to their rescue at all. Right. No one's saying that.
Right.
But we're saying that it may not need to exist in this current structure.
Right.
And maybe defunding the police is the right way so that we can restart what these police unions are doing.
Exactly.
Because what the police union, the head of the police union in Minneapolis said is wild. Is wild. So maybe there does need to be a new structure. And I believe in some places, I was watching not the Breakfast Club, Hot 97, and they were talking about some of the things that are potential for NYPD, and that would be school resource officers becoming their own thing, not being under the police department, which is crucial, which is important, and they're not being police officers, which is crucial and important, because the training for you and the training for dealing with kids. Listen, all these people say that these kids are dangerous. These teachers have been handling, and these counselors have been handling these same kids without weapons and without the ability to arrest them. How are they handling it? There's a certain patience that you have to have. When you have your own kids, they can push your buttons. Doesn't mean you get to haul off and sidekick them into oblivion. No, there's a certain level of patience that you have to have, and sometimes you just gotta walk away and let some things go. And some people, if you're not trained, you can't identify when someone is experiencing trauma. They could be experiencing things at home that they're just acting out in school, and that is most likely the case.
Right.
It is a call out for help, but you decide to smash them on the floor and then put their hands behind their back, and now you've destroyed their life even more, because now you're starting to wreck it for them.
Right.
And you didn't even care that you did that.
Right. I don't think that people are really realizing what it takes to handle the different levels of society in our community. And they just assume that the one all be all, it will be police, and we've enabled them and given them this power to do everything, and it's just blown up in our face, basically.
It has.
What we really need to do is assess what society needs and craft a system based on that, and not, okay, we need the police because we've always heard about the police. No, we need factions of the government that can handle multiple levels. And we need to redefine what police are and what we need from the police and what policing will look like. And I mean, more so, we don't need it to be separate, because we need it to work together.
Yes.
Like we need, as much as we need police, we also need the prosecutor, we need the district attorney, we need all that to function together to help the community, not against community.
Not against the community.
And this is another thing that I was saying was, if what we honestly need at the end of the day is for attorneys in general, like defense attorneys, also to have the same resources as the prosecutor, district attorney, and the state.
Yes.
Like, if you have millions of dollars of research necessary, I would like, as part of the community, to have those same resources if the case is against me and I know that I'm innocent.
And we need a simple social contract. When Killer Mike did his speech in Atlanta, he was talking about a community board, and they need to have power.
Right. Police
Officers need to be able to, even if it's not something that is criminal, the community board should be able to terminate you from their community. Simple as that. Simple as that. Based off of reasonable criteria. Because when we see Officer Chauvin, former officer, he was already he had 18 infractions against him.
Right.
18 or 19 complaints. One of them ended in the death of a person. He was involved in another shooting. So these aren't things that just pop up.
Right.
Over his 19-year career, there were times that he could have been prevented before it got it to George Floyd. And those things need to be in play. It can't. In any other job, you would not keep these type of people on the payroll. You would get rid of them. You would get rid of them right away. You would get rid of them swiftly, because the stakes are too high.
Right. And honestly, I'm all for the idea of job security at a civil service level. But I mean, if you show me that you can't be a cop, I'm ready to transfer you into some other unit of capacity.
Yes.
If you're worried about job security, okay, I'll make sure that you can maintain a job, but you obviously cannot police.
That's it.
That's it.
That's
Simple.
fair. That's fair. How about you be an EMT? Okay,
Right.
let's go. You're an EMT. You can't do this. You
Right.
can't be the guy who has the gun. You can't handle it. It's too much pressure for you. And we need to stop the story of all this. Like, it's so dangerous every
Right.
day. It's not so dangerous every day. There are moments in which it gets really serious,
Right.
and that's not most people's experience.
It is the idea of fear tactics that, oh, look, we need more funding. We can't get it done. Like,
Yep,
this is okay. You're right. This is how 50% of the budget goes to the police.
that's
Like,
it.
oh well, we need more resources. You don't even have the personnel to deal with the resources you have now. Like,
Nope.
no, this is not what I want. I want a system that flows. I want a system that protects it, that protects others as much as it protects itself.
Yes.
At the end of the day, if I understand having a police union, I understand being brothers in arms, but at the end of the day, if your number one job is the only job that you can't do, what
Hmm.
in the hell am I trying to protect you for?
Why?
I don't see it, and that would be the point in which,
Brothers in arms does not mean brothers that lie.
right,
You understand? Protect each other, yes. Look out for each other, but don't lie, because
right.
then you're hurting someone else.
How is your job over the community when your job is for the community, provided by the community, and funded by the community?
That's it.
I don't get it. You would think that in such a job you'd have more integrity, more code, more ethics
Yes.
to handle. That's like saying, all right, I'm gonna go to the military, but if at the end of the day the United States falls, at least I still got the military. No, that's not how it
No,
works.
no,
Your number one job is to protect the country.
that's it. And you know what's so interesting is when you see like a lot of these videos of cops being offended when people say, "I pay your salary."
Hmm.
Like they're so offended.
Right.
Like they already don't think they work for you. Like who like, yes, it comes from the taxpayer. If a person is a taxpayer or not, if it's a child who can't be a taxpayer yet, so
Right.
someone is paying their salary, your salary for them. The
Right.
parent is doing that. So yes, you do work for the community. You work for the city. You work for the state, or you work for the federal government. But the people are paying your salary. There should be no offense to that. None.
Right.
None. You own a business. You are at the mercy of the people who come and patronize your business. That is it. The masses amount of people. Same thing with any city or civil service institution. It's based off of the needs of the people. Why is it that we have to argue and fight
Right.
with the institutions that are created for us to change?
Hmm.
No, we want, even first of all, even if everything that people wanted would fall to pieces and destroy our whole society, it is still up to the society to make that the decision, not the institution
Right.
that they
I think
created.
let's take this week, and next week we bring our 5 points or 10 points of police reform.
Let's do it. Let's do
That
it.
sound good?
Changes. Let's do it. Solutions, because we're constantly talking about issues. We're talking about problems, but what are the solutions? 5 to 10 points of solutions. So if you're listening, if you're watching out there, we would love to hear from you guys. If you want to hit us up on Instagram, your 5 to 10 points of solutions for policing in America. You can hit us up on the email, candacepodcast@gmail.com. You can also put it in the comments of this video on YouTube. We want to hear from you guys. Okay, so moving. We haven't had something in this section in a while.
Ooh.
Killing with kindness.
Ooh.
It kind of goes along with everything we've been talking about, but in DC, I call it DC Underground Raoul Duvet, because it was basically like the Underground Railroad out there.
Uh-huh.
So on the day that Trump decided to take his photo op, when the police came out and
Tear
gassed everybody, was pushing everybody back, it just kept going. And then when the curfew hit, and I personally think that these curfews are set up personally because they know that people are going to defy the curfew and still be out, because they
Right.
shut down a lot of transportation. They shut down places that they can go. They shut down being able to get a vehicle near to these people.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, you are forcing them into a situation in which there is no win for them.
Right.
But the curfew hit, and so the police started doing their thing,
Mm-hmm.
arresting people. 120 something people were arrested that night. But as they were running away from the police, and some people being hit, some people being tear gas, there was a gentleman by the name of Raul Duvet, and this was happening on his street,
Mm-hmm.
on his very expensive DC street, nice, beautiful brownstone street. He opened his door and he said, "Hurry up, come in." And
Mm-hmm.
he's just letting people come into this house to the tune where I listened to an interview with 70 to 100 people in his house.
Oh,
He said,
wow.
"Go in any room, just go, 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 go." So apparently, all of these people they took shelter in his house. The police stayed outside
What?
through the whole. Check this out. This is the craziest part. The young lady accounted for everything that happened that night. So the police stayed outside till 5 a.m. First, they started sending people to the door, telling them, "Come on out, you guys are good." They're like, "We're not falling for it." Then they sent plain clothes officers saying, "I'm a protester. Help me. Help me. Let me in." Then they sent officers to come and speak to him and say, "Hey, yo, just let some of them out. We're good. Everything's going to be fine." Now, what, mind you, they're saying we're looking out the window and we're watching them still arrest other protesters, but they're saying, "Let them out. We're going to be good." Now, as the night goes on, obviously people are hungry. He gave them all the food that he had in his house, water. They were running out of stuff. So, boom, everybody's on Twitter tweeting. People in the community, he tried to order some food. He said, "Let's try and order a pizza." The police officers were trying to stop them, the delivery from coming down the street. So they did stop it. Now, the young lady is accounting. I forgot her name, but she said that they were also people were calling lawyers. They were on the phone with a particular lawyer, and they were trying to figure out their legal right. Like, if we walk out the house now, like, can we still be arrested? Because technically, like, we're just living life at this point. Like, and so the lawyer ends up hooking up with the pizza delivery guy, and they end up passing the pizza over the fence to them in the house. And
to
so
like
then
someone else's building.
So then they started, other people in the community started sending pizzas, just paying for pizzas, sending it, and then passing the pizzas over the fence. Then the police officers started finding that out. And so now people in the community are just walking supplies over. This is all through the whole night. They did not leave until 6 in the morning. The police didn't leave till 5 in the morning. They stayed there and waited and tried to get them so bad. So now, mind you, the street is clear now. The street is clear. The street is clear. But the point that I bring this up, this is killing with kindness, because this gentleman opened his door to 70 to 100 strangers for no other reason than I cannot watch them be brutalized in the streets.
Right.
The least I can do is open my door so that they're safe in here. And then people in the community decided to rally behind them. They said when they came out, people had breakfast for them. They were giving them food. It's like, and I was like, I got emotional listening to the story, because I'm like, he didn't have to do it,
Right.
but he did. He did. And these little things, these small little things, and the people were talking about their experience. There were people of all colors in there for one cause. The gentleman was an Indian man. They were all colors for one cause, and it were all peaceful inside there, because these weren't rioters. These were peaceful protesters who were out there just trying to make their voice heard, just trying to enact their First Amendment rights, who were tear gassed by public officials, by police officers. And this is the only way that this thing changes. is that when we do our little part, everybody doesn't have to be out there protesting,
Right.
but sending a pizza, having water. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Opening your door, utilizing your platform, which we're doing now, getting
Right.
these voices heard. You understand what I'm saying? What do you think?
Yeah. I'm man, I'm speechless. Like that. That's something that if I had the ability to do, that's something that I would do,
Mm-hmm.
without second thought,
Yep.
and everybody sit down Indian style like we in preschool, okay?
That's it.
We just gonna wait this out until the morning time and it's legal again, and we gonna protest again like
We're
ain't
gonna
nothing
keep
happened,
going.
you know. There's water on tap, you know. We can figure this out. That's it.
Now, if you wanted people to know that there was solidarity
Hmm.
amongst and love in America, that is the way that you show it. You
Right,
show it by opening your door and treating people like human beings and providing water and providing food and providing. There was young people there. She was saying that he was giving them ice cream sandwiches, just like whatever he had. It was like, yo,
right,
you're young, here. So it was like all of these things. But what wasn't saying,
right,
hey, we want an equal society, was tear gassing these people.
right.
That wasn't it. That was showing power and authority and abuse of power, because now it's insidious. Now
Right.
it's gotten too big. The tumor has gotten too big. The
I
only
think
solution is to cut it.
I think that people missed out on the idea that, people that there's not enough protesters or it's not as consistent enough, but the
Mm,
idea is that everybody's got a role, you know? Everybody
yes.
has something to do or a way to play their part. And the whole
Yes.
thing is you have to find out what your role is and you have to use it to the best of your ability.
That's right.
And this is the whole thing. This is like saying there's lawyers on the front line, there's lawyers out there doing this, but a lot of the lawyers, they know that their role isn't about doing that. Their role is about, okay, I'm down here for the 125 people who were just arrested. I
That's
need to
it.
get out by the morning.
That's it.
That's it. That's their role. It has nothing to do with, if I'm at the protest and I get arrested and I'm a lawyer, I can't get us all out.
I
But if
can't
I'm
get this
outside
all
and
out.
I know that everybody's arrested, first thing I'm doing is going down to the police station. Oh, you have 100 of my clients. What are their names? Oh, here's a list. Here's a
That's it.
list. I just
That
seen
is
it.
the way.
And
That
then
is
when
the
people start coming out, who else is in there? Okay, let me add their names to the list. That's it.
That's right.
That's it. Everyone's got a role. Everybody can do something. You have to think about what can you do to be most impactful.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because the whole thing is, like I said, it's about consistency.
Yes.
The more that they are capable of dividing the people who are coming, because there are people who are out there who are just like, man, if I get arrested and I'm there for a day, or I got a charge, or I got this,
Yep.
like chances are they're not going to come back out.
That's
And
right.
some people are, some people aren't. But
That's right.
you are trying to work on the weakness.
Yes.
But if you know that, all right, I can go in and I'll be out and I'll be refreshed by the
If
next day.
you
Oh,
knew that, right? If you knew
right,
that, if you knew there was a protocol, because the truth is, as much charges as they throw at you, there's but so much. There's certain charges they just can't hold you for.
right.
They really just can't hold you for, and some of them just turn into a summons.
Hmm.
It's not. It's not. You're not going to jail,
Right,
but it's the fear of that thing happening. It's the
right,
fear. But you know what? Threw a lot of this fear away. People don't have to be to work on Monday.
right,
They're not losing their job.
right.
You know what I mean? For
And
not showing up.
like we was talking about earlier about defunding the police. One of the greatest shows of unity with a community that a law house or anything can do is, I don't want to say disband the police, but maybe put the entire precinct on a week-long suspension.
Mm,
You know what I mean? And then at that point, that's when, now this is where the double-edged sword comes in. That's when you call the National Guard for yourself, you know?
mm.
And the whole thing is, some of those police officers are National Guard, so they still gonna have to be on the line
Yep.
regardless.
Yep.
But now the rules and regulations are different because you're not taking orders from the chief of police. You're not
No.
under that
You're going by
umbrella.
the governor.
Right, exactly. So I mean, there's different ways in which um, councilmen and senators, governors can take their role and their part if they feel this
Yes.
way. It's just the fear of being alienated and not being able to continue on with your political career. But
What would happen if they just fired the whole police department and rehired them? Like, are we really believing that like police officers are going to stand up? Like, I will never be a police officer again. I guess you'll be unemployed.
right.
Like,
That's like the thing that happened in Buffalo. I don't know if you saw about the
oh, when they
so
pushed him down, they pushed the old
right.
man down. Oh, I forgot to put that on the
So
list. That was horrific.
that whole group resigned, right?
Yes,
But they only resigned from that area
from
of
the
they
emergency
still
part.
police. It's
Yep.
not like, oh, okay, cool. All right.
And
And
that
that's
was their show of power. That was
right.
their show. If I was them, I would see. And that's the problem is like, mayors, if you're smart, you would like the idea of fearing that, like there's going to be this civil uproar where everything's going to blow up. It's not going to happen.
Right.
It's not going to happen. I would have terminated everybody. I would have sent them a letter of termination, and then I would have said, if you want to, you can reapply for your job, but you will be on a 90. What you going to do?
Right.
What you going to do? You're not getting COVID unemployment.
Right.
I'm the mayor. Let them send them a letter over and say that this person, yes, I'm challenging it.
Okay.
What's
yeah,
up?
Look. We know what the appeal process is. We'll go through the appeal process.
We'll go through the appeal process.
Oh, but everything's on hold because of COVID right
That's
now.
right.
So we'll get back to this in a month.
That's right. You care about your family? Well, then you come and do the right thing.
Yeah.
And then these are the new principles that you sign up for. I don't care about the police union. This is what you sign. Let them sue me. Sue me. Let's go.
Process.
Let's go. Courts is closed. Sue the city. You understand what I'm saying? Like it's the idea. What are you going to win on? What principle are you going to win on? Yes, I terminated the whole police department. I terminated them all. And I had the ability to say, if you want to be rehired, this is what you're going to be rehired under. Yes. Let's go. Labor laws? Okay, let's go. Let's fight the labor laws. Let's go. Right. But you know what is a lost cause? When I did it because people are killing people. Mm-hmm. They're losing their lives and they shouldn't be. Simple as that.
Right.
There's power moves that could be made, but it's also the fear that other people have. Because guess what? These police officers also do vote. Mm-hmm. And when you become an elected official and what you want to do is constantly move up, then you become a dangerous elected official.
Right.
Because if you don't care about continuing and everything that you do is about that day to day and changing some lives and changing what happens in your community, that's when you become super powerful.
Right.
Super powerful. Ambition is the thing that kills a lot of these elected officials. Mm-hmm. You got to get rid of that ambition. You got to make them want it. You city councilmen, be the best change in the city council that you can.
Right.
Don't worry about the mayor position. Don't worry about that. Then we can get serious change. Right. You know what? It's weird power moves that mayors don't make. Like, I don't want to hear from the police commissioner. Let's bring some people in who study criminology. Right. Let's Harvard Law. Let's bring it in, and I want you to break down. I'm not going to talk. We're going to shut down all the news stations for breaking news, and I want this Harvard Law professor to break down the statistics of how everything is working in our society and where we can make these changes. Right. So it's not talking for me. This is the people that study it. And the people that study it give us this information. They let us know where the changes can happen. Mm-hmm. The police commissioners don't study this stuff. They don't care to. They make the bad systems. When we have the broken windows police in here and we have CompStat in New York City, mm-hmm. Those police commissioners are only adopting what other police commissioners came up with. And those police commissioners padded the numbers. Right. If for 30 years you targeted a community, there's not a wonder there was a lot of crime that you found in that community because you didn't look anywhere else.
Right, exactly.
It's simple.
Well, we got our 10 points that we're coming with next week. So
that's it. 10 points next week.
All right. Is that it for us?
I think that's it for this one. Later this week, guys, we got the movie review. We're doing Lovebirds and
Yeah.
Mama I Made It, which was Yvonne Orji's stand up on HBO. All right, so I'm No Justin No Peace.
And I'm Lou Rivers.
And we are the Loose Candace Podcast, because we sit down and we fire off our opinions on today's pop culture.
What else?
Politics.
What else?
Movies and TV and how they all intersect. And oh baby, did we have a great episode 55, and check out later this week for episode 56.
Okay.
We out.
Peace.
Peace.